Welcome to the Dental Marketing Guy show. I'm Justin, the Dental Marketing Guy, and let me tell you, today's guest, it is an enormous honor to have today's guest because this is not an ordinary guest. I've studied, for those of you who know me well enough, I've studied just about every great marketing mind, the Seth Godins, the Dan Kennedys, and then even more niche than that, the Brian Deans of SEO, and you got Neil Patel. There's a lot of names out there, and a lot of them have been on this show. But what's unique about this guest, Sean D'Souza, is unlike a lot of marketing professionals who they have great ideas, but a lot of it is very promotional. A lot of it is a lot of sizzle, and they've got the steak too, but there's a lot of sizzle. And sometimes it seems like there's that 80-20 rule where it's like I'm getting 80% sizzle, 20% steak, and it just comes down to whether or not I want to sit through the 80% sizzle to get to that 20% steak. Well, my next guest here is all about the substance. He's 100% steak. I totally vouch for it. And what's interesting is he's almost kind of, in my opinion, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, Sean, but kind of like a Yoda who kind of isn't trying to get in the limelight, isn't trying to claw to the top of the stage, and yet the substance of what you teach regarding consumer psychology and the 7 steps to buying anything from an iTunes 99-cent download to a new home is exactly the same. And I just find it incredible that you maintain, a lot of people know who you are because of your teaching, but the fact that you maintain a secret in the dental industry is amazing to me. But first of all, before we delve into all your brilliant ideas, and we're going to talk about the 7 red bags of marketing and the buyer's choice. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. I want to just kind of ask you really quickly, because I know we don't have a whole lot of time. We're both busy. I wanted to know kind of the story, the short and succinct version of the story of how did you come to become the author of the Brain Audit? How did you become the owner of psychotactics.com? And you've got a cult-like following of a ton of successful people. How did that even begin?
It was by mistake. I was a cartoonist. I started out as a cartoonist. I didn't want to be in marketing, but along the way, I figured that I wanted to take time off. And to me, that was the most important control mechanism in a business. If you can take time off, that shows you how mature your business is or how mature you're as a business person. If you can't take time off, then the business owns you, and that's it. So as a cartoonist, I couldn't take time off because every time I'd go on vacation, I'd think that the client is going to give the job to someone else. I think that I wouldn't get paid while I was away. So I started to think about how I could improve my business, and I started reading books. I started reading like 30 books. Every time I'd go to the library, I'll get 30 books. But I had a background in copywriting. I had a background as my parents were teachers. My grandmother was a teacher. My parents ran a business. It wasn't a super hard jump for me to make, but marketing wasn't where I thought I'd end up. Anyway, one day I decided I'm going to give a speech on a specific topic. I gave the speech. Someone said, "Can I have the book? Can I have the notes?" I said, "There are no notes." And they said, "Well, I can't remember. You said so much in 45 minutes. And so I had to sit down and write the notes. This is going back to 2000. And back then there was not the internet as you know it now. And so I created a PDF. This person, I sent the PDF to them, and then we put it on the website and somebody bought it. And that's the story. That's the short story. of a very long journey so far.
Yeah, yeah, and one of these days maybe we'll get into the more in depth. And of course, they could go to psychotactics.com to find out more. You've got the 3-month vacation podcast as well. If you guys want to find out the full version of that story. Just to kind of get into the short and punchy version, because I know there's a lot of nuances to this 7 red bags style of consumer psychology, and it's really the same thing that we all do. We all pick up these 7 red bags when we are buying something, when we're making a purchasing decision. Could you kind of explain the short and punchy version of what are those 7 red bags? What am I even talking about here?
Yeah, so the book is called The Brain Audit. Now, the Brain Audit, what happened was I was trying to slow down the process that we go through every time we're buying something. So what we think is that we're just buying something, but we're not. We're going through a whole bunch of things. And depending on how risky the decision is, we go through the process a lot slower. If you're buying chewing gum, which I don't think anybody buys these days, then it's a lot quicker. If you're buying something like a house, you're buying a computer, there's a bigger process. But essentially, it consists of 2 parts. The first part is the attraction factor, and the second part is the risk factor. So the first 3 bags comprise of, so let me give you the analogy. It's like this. When you get on a flight, let's say you have 7 red bags, and you put those bags on a flight, and then you get off at the other end at your airport, and now you're waiting for the 7 red bags. And then you're waiting at the carousel, and the first red bag comes off, you take it off. The second one comes off, you take that one off. The third one comes off, and then you have an orange bag and a purple bag. So you're waiting for these 7 red bags. So you get the 4th bag, the 5th bag, the 6th bag, and the 7th bag doesn't show up. So when do you leave the airport? And that's the concept of the brain audit. The concept of the brain audit is one of hesitation. What causes the customer not to buy simply because you left one little thing off? And the first 3 red bags are really the problem, the solution, and the target profile. Everything starts with the target profile. The target profile is not the target audience like lots of people talk about. It's a real person. It's a person that you can take out to lunch, and you should take out to lunch and speak to them. And then you find out that they have a specific problem. They have not a generic problem. And that's the kind of message that you're sending out to your audience. So you go to a single person, and that single person brings up a problem that then you send out to your audience. So if you're dealing with someone like Sarah, Sarah has a specific problem. That specific problem goes out to all the Sarahs of the planet, and they respond to it. Now, Anita's might not respond to it, but you don't care because there are enough Sarahs that are interested in that problem. And those are the first 3 bags: the target profile, the problem, and the solution. So you bring up the problem, then you bring up the solution. What we tend to do in business is we bring the opposite. We bring up the solution. When people say, what do you do? We just spit out the solution. And that's not what attracts the brain. The brain is more interested in problems than it is in solutions. So you're more interested. A fine sunny day is great, but it's of no consequence. The moment a hurricane is coming through town, that's when you're paying attention. So you have to find out what is the problem that your customer is facing, and then bring in the solution. So those comprise the attraction factor. When you stand up at a networking meeting, when you're on your website, when you're giving a presentation, if you bring up a problem, you watch as the audience snaps on straight away to you. They pay attention to you. Yeah. And then you bring the solution. And you can't sustain the problem because it's like kind of like global warming. That's the best example. It's such a big problem that no one's paying attention. And so you have to bring up the problem, then bring up the solution. And those comprise the first 3 bags: the problem, the solution, the target profile. The moment the client goes, that's interesting, as in they're interested in what you're selling. That's almost like, you went out on a date, you got attracted, and now there's a risk factor. It's like, do I have to keep going out? It's like there's this. So the first thing that pops up right after that are the objections. So you have the objections, the testimonials, the risk reversal, and the uniqueness. But the first thing that pops up are the objections, because we're about to make a commitment, a small commitment or a large commitment, but we're about to make the commitment, and that scares the heck out of us. So we bring up the objections. So that's the next bag. Of course, it's all explained in greater detail in the Brain Audit, but this is the brief version of it.
Of course.
Then you have the testimonials. How you construct the testimonials are more important than just having testimonials. So people go, I have testimonials, but no, your testimonials are sugary sweet testimonials. You want to have a reverse testimonial. So you have the objections, testimonial. On top of that, you have a risk reversal. What is the biggest risk? And it's not just money back. Money back is one of the types of risk. You want to understand that people have different kinds of risks. So for instance, we're in the information business. And when we started in the early 2000s, we were shipping stuff to people. And then they would ask for their money back. And what happened was we saw that most of the stuff, most of the books and things that we were sending them were still in the original wrapping. It's like, okay, so you haven't even opened the wrapping. How are you going to know how good this stuff is? And so we created what is called the lawnmower guarantee. And the lawnmower guarantee was really that you take all the books and you rip them up and you put them in a box and you send them back. Essentially what we're saying is you don't have to be afraid of messing up the books or the CDs. You just go through them, and if you're okay with them, if you're not okay with them, send them back. But people were afraid of messing it up, so they weren't opening it. And so the risk wasn't a money back. The risk was that they were afraid of opening it and soiling it in some way. And so you have to recognize what is the real risk. And customers tell you all this. The target profile tells you all this. So we have objections, testimonials, risk reversal, and finally we have uniqueness. The thing is that if you do all those 6 bags and you don't tell me why you're different from somebody else, it doesn't matter. All you've done is set me up for the competition. Now I'm a very educated customer, and you've set me up for the competition. And that's it. So uniqueness enables me to stand out from the competition. Let me give you an example of psychotactics. So a lot of people have courses online. How do we stand out from everybody else? How do we charge more? How do we get people to sign up? Like our courses fill up in like 30 minutes. We don't do any promotion, as you said. I'm standing there, Yoda-like in the swamp, no lights, no spotlights, nothing. How is it possible? Well, here's our uniqueness. What we say is, if you do a course online, they give you a money-back guarantee, and they don't promise you skill. If you do a course with us, we give you no money-back guarantee, and we promise you skill. That's unique. That has got your attention. That's completely different from everybody else. So what we have are all these bags, which is the problem, the solution, the target profile, the objections, the risk reversal, the objections, testimonial, risk reversal, and finally uniqueness.
That's, that's really phenomenal about the we guarantee you skill, because that's why they're buying it.
Exactly.
They're not buying it so they can waste their time and then get their money back at the end.
Correct. But the thing is that so many people got used to buying information that they forget that they're in the business of buying. I mean, the reason why you do an article writing course is to learn to write great articles. The reason why you do a cartooning course or a cooking course or a comedy class or any course is to get an exact result. Instead, what you get is the sizzle. That's exactly what you get. What you get is information. You get more information on what you should do, but you don't get the skill. And what we do is we guarantee the skill. And so you're saying, well, 100% of the people that do the course, get the skill? Yes, 100%. So now we have to figure out how we do that. And we figured it out.
That's phenomenal. And you know, if I'm a dentist and I'm listening to this, we're coming to a close on our time, but um, I'm thinking, you know, how do I apply this to my dental practice in terms of uniqueness? You know, because it's kind of a tough thing. You know, Zappos, for instance, they said money back guarantee plus free shipping on any box that you want to put your shoes in, and that was the real problem with buying shoes online, and they didn't figure it out for a while. Was it's not just the problem of I get my money back. The problem is I want to send the shoes back and get another pair that's better for me. But for a dental office, you know, for a dentist thinking of this, and it might require some mental heavy lifting, which is where your community would come in and your teaching comes in. But I'm thinking, you know, how do I really stand out when I'm doing the drill, fill, and bill thing? You know, I'm a so-called tooth mechanic, and how do I really stand out?
Well, my dentist says what he says. So the thing is that there is a bunch of resources that are absolutely free, not just rubbish resources, but really good. So you can find that at psychotactics.com/uniquenessmastery. But besides that, my dentist says, once I work on your tooth, I don't want to see that tooth. I don't want to have a problem with that tooth for the next 15 years. That's all he says, right? I get the point. I get, no other dentist says that. So, you know, every time I go in, so one of the things about uniqueness is that you have to, you say it a lot when you're speaking. You kind of have a sense of what makes you unique. And then the thing is about repeating it so that it becomes a uniqueness. That's one of the most crucial things of uniqueness. But first you have to not find it, you have to create it. The big problem that people have is they try to find the uniqueness. We didn't try to find our uniqueness. We said, we want, in my mind, it's pointless joining a course to get more information. I can get information from the library. Why am I doing this course? I want to get skill. How am I going to create this skill? So you have to go out there and you have to figure out, if there was one thing I could get, if I could achieve for this customer, what would that one thing be? In my dentist case, is 15 years, I don't have to touch this tooth again. He created it. You want to create something and then figure out, how am I going to deliver on this? And once you figure out how to deliver, just talk about it repeatedly. And then eventually your clients go, you should go to the dentist. He guarantees the tooth for 15 years. There you go.
Right. And the whole idea is, like you said, creating it. So what was that URL one more time? The uniqueness URL?
It's psychotactics.com/uniquenessmastery.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, well, this has been really educational, and I thank you so much for coming on, Sean. This is hugely powerful for the dental industry. No one's talking about this. I mean, I talk about it a little bit, not nearly as much level of detail that you've gone into just now, but this is really phenomenal. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Good. Yeah. And guys, if you want to find out more about Sean, he's already said it, but psychotactics.com and the 3-month vacation podcast on Stitcher and iTunes. I personally listen to this religiously and read this material religiously. It's just stuff that isn't being said. It's all the substance that's missing in dental marketing today. So I hope you guys find this beneficial, and thanks for watching the Dental Marketing Guy Show.